So today, on behalf of Reelin, we would like to welcome Yanick Ghanty. Yanick,
Hello.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Weather's getting better, so I'm feeling good.
I know, it's nice, isn't it, to have the sun shining a little bit.
Yeah, we need that vitamin D, you know? This Maryland needs that
definitely.
vitamin D.
Definitely. I need to top up my tan, but you know. So we've got lots and lots to talk about today. One of the things I always want to start with, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up? And as a kid, did you always think you would get into acting?
Cool question. Where did I grow up? So I grew up in southwest London in Wimbledon. Well, I say Wimbledon because it's the posh end, but actually we lived on the other side of Wimbledon. Yeah. So I grew up there. I mean, I'm half Indian. My mum's Indian, my dad's Mauritian, so half Asian, half African. And I grew up in a very kind of middle class area. Yeah, and like in terms of acting, I think I always joked around like about being a stuntman. Mm-hmm. And you know, my mum always thought I was taking the piss, but I grew up watching, like, you know, Jackass and CKY and all of those kind of like dangerous stunt type things. And I was a bit of a skater, BMXer kind of. And I think I just kind of really wanted to do that. I really wanted to pursue stunts. And then, I just kind of went through school. I always knew that I wasn't, might be the wrong sort of words, but I wasn't the kind of academic person. You know, I wasn't that. I was always really good at the physical things, the PE, music, art, you know, drama and stuff. I was always really good at that kind of stuff, and less good at the academic stuff. So I just kind of ended up in college doing performing arts, moved over to drama school. Actually, my teacher in college was like, there's an amazing drama school degree that you should do, and it was the only one I applied to, because I was like, if this doesn't work, then I don't know what I'm going to do. So I applied to it, got in, and it was the East 15's acting and stage combat course.
Right.
I was so thankful that I got in, because that's kind of where I fell in love with acting.
Right.
Like I said, I always wanted to kind of do the stunt side, and I loved acting and music especially, and I knew that I was kind of creative anyway, but I really went on a whim and just tried to get into the stunt side of that. Sure. But during the course of that, I started falling in love with acting.
Mm-hmm. And coming from, you know, from, let's say, a mixed kind of African and Asian background, was there any pressure from your parents to kind of be more academic and not go for, I suppose, what for you know, a lot of British Asians at least is not a conventional career?
Yeah. You know what? Not really. Like, my mum and dad were pretty cool. Of course, they wanted, you know, when you're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, they're not thinking, you don't know that you're going to be an actor. You don't know you're going to be successful in a certain area. So, of course, they wanted me to do well in all, you know, math, science, English. That's just what parents do, right? But there was never pressure. I mean, my mum tried to get me to do music when I was younger. I think my brother started with the guitar. I tried it, absolutely hated it. Funny story, because I ended up playing guitar when I was older. But I'm
going to ask you about that.
Oh, nice.
Go.
So it's like she tried to get me into arts and culture and stuff like that from when I was younger, you know. And I think they really enabled it rather than dismissed it. But I mean, I think I have a lot to thank for them, because it's like, you know, I feel lucky to have parents like that.
Sure. So that's where your interest sort of started, when you were at East 15. How did the career actually come about? When was your first break, and how did that come about?
Good question.
I'm taking you back today, aren't I? I'm really making.
I know, yeah. Well, I was also thinking about like the first break, and it's like an interesting thing of where do you draw the line? Because, for example, in 50 years' time, if I'm standing on stage and I've won my Oscar and I'm, you know, at the top of my game, where do I look back and go, was it Hullraisers, or was it, was it the stage that I've done, or at what point do you draw the line and go, that was my break? Because for me, it's like going to drama school was my turning point. Right. It was the point where I was like, oh, I'm serious about this. Mm-hmm. Straight after drama school, I got my first job in immersive theatre. Mm-hmm. And then I went back, and then straight after that, I got another immersive theatre job. And then I got into physical theatre, comedic theatre, and the ball just kind of rolled in theatre, and then started going into plays with songs, exploring the musical part of myself. Mm. And then I went into kind of like historical classics type theatre. And then it wasn't until sort of a year before COVID where I was like, I need to take a break from theatre in order to get where I want, which is TV, film, and build up that way. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I absolutely love theatre. Theatre is where I belong. Mm-hmm. But it's one of those things where I needed to take a risk and go, if I'm contracted to theatre for a year, I can't audition for the film, TV and stuff. So I took a break and was like, I was turning roles down. Mm. And then COVID hit. And I was like, oh. But actually worked out for the best, because I got into the commercial world, went through a lot of commercials, and I'd already built up a couple of films and TV from before credits, as you do as an actor, like you jump in here and there. But then the big one, Hullraisers, came out, and I mean, that's kind of where I was like, sweet. Okay. I imagine that's where I'm going to say the story starts. Right.
But I think it's one of those things, isn't it? It changes as you progress in your career.
Yeah, I think so.
I think I liken it to sort of when you're at school and you're sat to the most important thing that you've done, but once you've kind of left school and you're in the real world, you realise that they don't mean anything. So I think the point sort of changes, doesn't it? Your turning point.
Yeah. And that's it. It's like, I think if you was to ask anybody, like, oh, how did you become the CEO of, Apple?
Yeah.
And they might say, well, I got a job in Google, and that's what got me. But actually it was, you went to uni and then you got the job in Google, and you did the GCSEs that got you into uni, and you did the SATs that got you the GCSEs. And it was because of when you were born that you came, like, it's like, where do you pick the story up? And that kind of goes on to heritage as well. It's like, where do you pick the story up? It's like, it's interesting.
So with your theatre, I mean, you travelled quite a lot with that, didn't you? Around the world. So, I mean, how long were you doing the theatre for before before COVID struck?
A long time. I mean, so I graduated in 2013, but I'd done some theatre before that. Like, we did a tour of Italy. We did Commedia dell'arte. It's like a type of theatre using masks and stuff. I did a tour of Italy before I went to drama school, so that may have been my first experience. And then during drama school, I did a couple of plays, and so I say like a good 8, 9, 10 years of theatre before kind of COVID hit, and and then. I mean, I still did a cheeky 6-week theatre job just before COVID. Anyway, even though I, was kind of in that transitioning period where I was like, I've got to sort of try and say no, but it was short. So I was like, this is all right. If it was a year, I would have been like, maybe not.
It was a limited time.
Exactly.
So I've been doing a bit of digging. And you've kind of already alluded to this, but Little Birdie tells me that you're a singer-songwriter and a personal trainer, as well as being an actor. Is there no end to your talents?
Well, it's, as an actor, it's so funny because you really do have to sort of have multiple skills, because when you start off, acting is a tiny percentage of what you're actually doing to make money. I mean, to survive, you have to do everything, right? So I've done every job under the sun. I mean, here's the first one, but here's the first exclusive of what I started as. But I actually started off as a hairdresser. When I was 16.
Another skill.
Yeah, another skill. I started off as a hairdresser. Absolutely was a terrible hairdresser, so never obviously pursued it. But I've done everything. I used to solder computer chips. I used to hand out flyers. worked retail, I was a manager, I was sales, I've done everything. You have to.
Yeah.
It's just the music and the creative stuff that's always been in my repertoire. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
In my So yeah.
So you kind of alluded to using some of that in theatre. Any plans to sort of branch out with that?
I would love to. Yeah, I would love to. I've always had a thing for singing and songwriting. When I was in drama school, I wrote like an album pretty much that has never been released, but it should be released at some point. But yeah, I mean, I'm always trying to find ways of getting my music out there, and like, you know, but it's always something that I'm so protective of, because it's like very personal, and it's like, I think it's a very intimate thing, art, you know. And even like acting, if you watch yourself on screen, it's very intimate. It's very like, oh my God, like people are watching me embrace this other character. But I think I feel it more with music. I feel that that insecurity more when it comes to music, because I think that's really written from myself. That's like from my soul. It's coming out of me. So it's but I think I'd love to explore that more.
So we'll look forward to the debut album.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to, I suppose, the big one, and the thing that is currently showing on Channel 4.
Yeah.
Hullraisers. So how did that come about? And you'd like mentioned that just before COVID, you'd kind of taken a conscious break to sort of, I suppose, concentrate on more TV and film work. How did you choose this as like your first project to, you know, be the transition from stage to TV?
So what was the question? How did I end up?
How did you choose? Yeah, how did it come about, and how did you sort of think this is the right one to, you know, to kickstart the TV career?
Interesting, because as an actor, the only creative say we get is to say no. Like at the level I'm at anyway, you don't really get to choose what projects you want to be involved in. It's more that opportunities come and you audition for them and you can say yes or no, if you get it. But you don't get to sort of go, all right, I want to be the next James Bond, or I want to be I mean, you can, and you can attack that route and you can grind for it. But in this case, it was just a simple audition process. I do about 4 or 5 auditions a week. Right. This was one that I got a recall for, and then I got the job, and I got offered the job, and I accepted it. Because it was a series regular on Channel 4, and it was a comedy, and I loved the script, and I loved the writing and everything about the show before I'd even, you know, really experienced what it was. And then when we were around the table, and we did a read through of it before, obviously, and it just flowed even better than I had read it in my own head. Yeah. And everybody's reading it together, and it was like, this is going to be incredible. This is going to be great.
So tell us a little bit about your character, Dane.
Dane. Oh, Dane. I have a soft spot for Dane. He's just such a like fun-loving dad, you know. He's like proper. He's like what I imagine a typical northern dad to be. You know, they're from a mix. He's in a mixed relationship, so he's got a mixed daughter and son, and he's just like one of these guys who's like a bit of a puppy dog. Looks big, looks bulky, looks a bit like, you know, he's had a life back from, you know, back in the day. But he's married this woman who's so strong, and you know, it's like Dane is technically like the head of the house. Dane is technically the man of the house. You know, put like this, because
he doesn't wear the pants in the relationship.
He doesn't wear the pants. That's the thing, and he knows it, and he accepts it, and he's like, he totally is fine with it. Like Paula is the boss. You know, like even the kids know it. You know. But that's what I love about Dane, is that he doesn't sort of, try to fight it. It's not like
Yeah,
he's not like he's, you know, hungry for power or anything. He's just sweet.
yeah.
He's just a sweet guy that looks bigger than he is.
And with the role and the series as a whole, what sort of challenges did you face? And in particular, the one thing that I'm thinking in my mind, how long did it take you to master that accent?
Oh my God, the accent was just, it was tough, you know, because it's like,
I'm not sure I understand.
Oh, sorry, my Siri's going mad. In fact, yeah, I'm not sure I understand. I think generally you could do a general northern accent and you can pick that up quite quickly. But the thing is, Hull is so specific. It has a very specific moments and like
texture sort of thing.
Yeah, flow.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting accent to do. So I had a voice coach that would go through it with me. She was amazing, and I spent, you know, hours grafting it and trying to figure it out, to the point where in my sleep I would be muttering words with a Hull accent. And I'm basically, so my missus is in bed with me, and I'm basically calling her Paula, and I'm like, Paula, love. She's like, it's Nisha, and I'm like, just, she's like nudging me. She's like, it's so funny, man. She wakes me up the next day. She's like, you're calling me Paula.
I was going to say, you did tell her all about the role and everything beforehand, didn't you?
Yeah.
It wasn't just randomly saying Paula in your sleep.
Yeah, well, it was. I was randomly saying it, but yeah, she knew about the role, which made me safe from
from any physical violence.
Exactly. Yeah, from any violence. No. So it was that was a real challenge, though. Yeah.
And did you have? When did you film it? Was it filmed sort of during COVID restrictions or anything? Did you have any issue with that side?
Yeah, kind of. We had to pause filming for like 10 or 20 days because we got COVID. So basically, it was last year August, I believe, July, August, 6 weeks, and in August, I think a couple of the cast got COVID.
Right.
Had to pause for 10 days. I was actually off for a week, so I had a break. And when I was supposed to come back, I got COVID. So then I had to pause again for another 10 days.
Yeah.
And then we crammed it all in the last like week or two. And we managed to finish, I think, maybe a couple of days later than we were going to originally.
Right.
But yeah, that was a challenge because we were all isolated. We basically had our own rooms, apartment type things, and we were kind of just, the cast were allowed to mingle, the camera crew were allowed to mingle. Everyone had their own bubbles, and I guess if anyone got COVID in that bubble, they would just swap out the bubbles.
Right.
Apart from the cast, you can't really, but yeah, that was kind of, I think, how it was supposed to go down.
Yeah.
But we didn't encounter too many problems apart from that.
Okay, good. Now, one of the things I actually quite liked about it, aside from the obvious, you know, the comedy side of it and the characters, one of the things I quite liked about Hullraisers is the characters actually of Dane and Rana, in that they're not stereotypically Asian for the sake of it. They're actually just characters who happen to be Asian. And it's been a bugbear of mine, because I'm like, well, in British society, wherever you look, there are Asian people doing every sort of job, but on TV and in film, they're doctors, or, you know, they get. So do you think that sort of stereotyping is kind of starting to reduce, and are kind of British Asian actors, or, you know, actors of colour, do you think they're starting to get more diverse roles nowadays?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it can always be more, right? Because as a human race, we can always strive to do better in every scenario, everything, not just this, but everything. And so we can always do more. But I do think that it's heading, and it hopefully stays on trajectory, that it's going that way. I mean, I've been fairly lucky in the sense that most of my roles have been like Dane's, Bob's, Bill, James is, as opposed to, you know, Mr. Singh or something. So I've been fairly lucky in that sense. I have had a couple of like playing a terrorist or playing a, you know, Punjabi MC guy, something, you know, and I've done them because I guess I don't come from a position where I only get that role.
Sure.
So for me, it was like, okay, cool. Like I'm playing an Indian now. But I know that like some of my friends and some other actors only get cast as like a certain type of person. But yeah, I do think that it's going in a much better way from now on. And I think it has to take steps to become more available. Like it has to feed down into the writers, the producers, the directors. You know, it's like the generation that we are now are the ones that are writing and producing and creating. So it makes sense that it would be like that. It makes sense that it would open up more.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Like I say, I think it's something that's overdue, because I think, you know, we've kind of seen it growing up that you've got Asian people in all walks of life. So it's nice not to have stereotypical characters, because I'll admit, before I saw any of Hullraisers, I did start to think, I was like, hang on, is this going to be like the token Asian guy? But no, I'm glad it's not. It's
not. Yeah, and I really like that about Hullraisers. That's like one of my, you know, favorite things, is that you don't really need to know that they're brown, that they're Asian. Like it could be played by anyone.
Yeah, I think all of the characters are exactly that. They're characters first.
Yeah.
So nothing attached to them in terms of, you know, race or anything like that. It's just this is the character and these are the character traits, which is it's really good to see.
Yeah. I completely agree.
Now, I was going to ask about, well, obviously now you've got this mainstream TV show, and the next step is film. But doing let's say I've been doing a bit of research, and I see you're listed on the Marvel Cinematic Universe wiki page. So what's going on there?
The Marvel Cinematic wiki page. I didn't even know. That's so funny.
You're on the MCU wiki page. So
really, what does it say?
I didn't read it in detail. It said you're listed for the Eternals.
Oh yeah, okay. So I did a small role in Eternals. I played a guard in the, you know, the big Bollywood scene.
Yes. Yeah.
So I was just like, I played a guard. Yeah.
Well, hey, you're in like one of the biggest.
That was cool.
One of the biggest.
Don't get me wrong. I had a great time as well. Like it was an amazing experience. Like should have seen the set was incredible. Like, oh my God, it was awesome.
It's amazing. So in terms of
that's so funny that I'm on the Marvel Cinematic wiki page. That is cool.
You're part of the MCU.
Love it.
Bona fide part of it.
Love it. Love that.
In terms of, I mean, what are you looking to do with your career now? In terms of after Hullraisers, you know, what are you looking to push your career in a certain direction? Are you looking to sort of say, I want to do more TV, or are you wanting to go towards film, or is it a case of what comes along?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. So I'd love to explore TV a lot more. I'd love to explore film a lot more. And when I feel very comfortable that I have done that, then I want to go back to theatre as well. Because like I said before, like theatre is where I belong. You know, it's like it's a very different style of acting to film and TV, and likewise, TV it can be very different to the kind of process that it is in film. It's like different types of rehearsal, different types of, you know, learning a character, and budget as well. Like budget can play a massive difference into how much you get to explore a character. You know, if it's like a £200 million film, I'm sure you're rehearsing for days and weeks training and stuff. So,
yeah, cool.
And I'd love that. I'd love to experience that. And I think that would be the next step for me, is to get a big budget film. And then, yeah, like just from there, it will be what it will be. Like, I'll take work that I want to do.
Sure.
And yeah, that could be theatre. I mean, I want to play on the big stages as well, you know. So, yeah.
And are you, with the TV and film, are you looking to sort of stay within the UK, or are you open to, you know, anything? Because, you know, we're seeing a lot of even American dramas that have British actors in them nowadays. So are you just open to any sort of good roles?
Yeah, the Brits, we're killing it, aren't we, in America?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to, exactly like you said, I'm open to any good roles. I'm open to any good roles, and that could take me across to Timbuktu, Singapore, or anything, you know. As long as it's good and I like it, and it's, you know, something that intrigues me. You know, it has to intrigue me. I think now I am at that stage where I want to be intrigued by, and I want to read more about. If I see a character and I want to read more of it, that's when I know it's kind of like, okay, this is the one I want to do.
Okay. Going completely sort of off topic a little bit now. And this kind of almost relates a little bit to what we were talking about earlier with the, I suppose, the perception of Asian people, very, very loosely connects to that. One of the things I've seen that you're quite sort of passionate about is mental health. Now I'm sure you've done something for UCAF for that, haven't you? Was it last year, I think?
Yeah, last.
There's a whole sort of highlights section on your Insta about it, and you've done some events as well where you've been raising money for Mind. With it being a really sort of key topic at the moment, do you think that conversation about it has been normalised? Do you think there's still a way to go for that?
No, I think there's loads to do. I think there's loads to do. Like, the conversation on mental health is such a big topic, because there's just so much. There's so many sections to it. You know, you've got, there's just so many levels, and I don't think we understand. Even myself, even people that suffer with mental health problems don't understand the amount of layers and the amount of things that there are. And I think the conversation needs to carry on, because, you know, there are just so many cases where I see, like, for example, let's just take one section and it just be like family life or like family homes. There are so many cases of my friends personally who have siblings or partners or parents that don't understand their mental health.
Yeah.
And that's a topic that we're not exploring, because it's all right to say, you know, like, okay, so this person's got depression, this person's got anxiety, this person's got this, that, the other. Cool. Okay. So that's one type of thing that's happening within the mental health realm. What about the actual conversations at home that are causing mental health, or that are causing, God, like, I don't even know how to explain it, because it's like, it just goes so deep, and I don't think we've said enough. And I think it's really difficult, because the conversation of mental health almost became a fad, in the sense that it became this topic of conversation. You know, if you look at the last 2 years online, you've got these big high peaks of where things happened. You've got the Punjabi farmers, then you've got Black Lives Matter, then you've got LGBT, then you've got Palestine, Syria, then you've got Ukraine at the moment. It's like, before that we had mental health spike, you know, and it's like these things almost become like a fad, and then they drop off. And I think that mental health needs that again, or it needs to push past that. We need to push past the fad. I think it needs to become that almost, in order to get people to talk. But then someone needs to take that over to the next level and say, right, we've got to do something about it. Let's do something about it. Like, it's hard though, isn't it? It's hard. I mean, it's, you know, it's very hard.
Do you think it's more? Do you think it's still more of a taboo when you're saying that there's people in your sort of immediate circle who are suffering with a form of it? Do you think it's more of a taboo in like the Asian community still? Do you think it's still less understood, let's say?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I don't know just Asian, but like I think I mean, not just our type of Asian, but like all of Asia.
Yeah.
I think a lot of places, I think not even just Asian, like my white friends or black friends, or, it doesn't matter if they're Caribbean or if they're African. It's like, I think it's just not understood. Yeah. I think it's really not understood. And it could be so simple, like, for example, like people might post online and they might say like, I'm always here to talk, or I'm always here to da-da-da for you. But then those kind of same people are not listening to their friends who are like, I'm desperate to talk. It's really weird. It's a really hard thing.
It's very tough subject, I suppose, to deal with. But I think like people like yourself who are in the public eye, doing those Insta stories where you're saying, yeah, let's talk about it, is going that little extra bit towards normalizing that conversation and saying, making people think, you know what, okay, yeah, I can talk about it and I can bring it out in the open. So thank you for that.
It's good. I wish I could do more. It's like, I think everyone can do more, but there's so many things to do more of. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah.
But these events that you did for Mind, it sounded pretty epic. Tell us a bit about those.
Yeah, so the first one I did was I climbed Kilimanjaro. And that was...
You're going to take the easy route. It's not like Movember, I'm going to grow a moustache.
No, it wasn't like Movember. And
quite serious.
The worst thing about it, I'll tell you the worst thing about it, or the funniest thing about it, was that my friend messaged me and was like, I'm climbing Kilimanjaro. And I'll just say something real now. I lost my brother about 5 months. So I climbed in December. I lost my brother in May.
Wow.
And no, it's okay. But this is what kickstarted the mental health thing.
Right.
And my friend called me up and was like, I'm climbing Kilimanjaro in 2 weeks, in a couple of weeks. And I was like, oh, you're climbing Kilimanjaro? What are you climbing that for? And he was like, I'm climbing for a charity. And I was like, I want to come. We did it for 2 different charities. I can't remember the charity he did it for now, but it was something that related to himself. I think it might have been cancer or something that was his aunt or something was going through. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to come and I want to do it for mental health, for Mind. And I thought that I could go up, kid you not, in Timberlands and a barber jacket. And I booked my ticket. I said to my mum, I'm going climbing Kilimanjaro, by the way, in 2 weeks' time. She was like, you're kidding. And I was like, no, I'm just going to go. It's just, it's just down the road. And I went to the shop and was like, so what kind of gear do I need? And he was like, oh, you need this. And she listed it. And I was like, oh, is this like a thing? Like, this is like a proper thing.
That's when it started to dawn on you.
Yeah, literally, that's when it started to dawn on me. And it was about, a week had already gone by this point, and I was just like in the shop and I just bought things that I needed. And it honestly wasn't enough, because I didn't buy the thickest jacket or the best boots or anything. And we just really winged it.
Yeah.
And then, then I set up that fundraising thing and got some money and off we went. And it took 6 days to get up there, 1 day to come down. And I kid you not, it was like the best experience I've ever had in my life. But when I got to the top of the mountain, I was like, get me off this mountain. I just wanted to get off so quickly. Because it's tough. There was a point at the top where I think it was -10, -15. I can't remember, but it was in the minus, something that we're not that used to here. And I was at the top on day 5 or I can't remember what it was now, but the last 2 days you don't sleep, because you walk You walk for 4 hours, you have lunch, you walk for 4 hours more, you rest for like 2 hours, you sleep for 2 hours, maybe if you can. And then at 11 o'clock at night or something, 11 o'clock at night, you eat dinner and then you carry on walking, because you can't stay at the top too long. So they don't let you sleep there at night and then go. So you sleep for a couple of hours just to rest, and then you walk up and you get to the top at sunset. Now, you are so tired and it's so cold that all you want to do is sit down and rest every 30 seconds. And they're like, if you sit down for more than 30 seconds, you're going to freeze and die. Because you're gonna fall asleep. Because this is what happens. People fall asleep because they're so tired. They freeze to death. So they were like shoving me every 30 seconds, like, get up, get up, get up. And we start walking. Off we go again. I'm falling asleep. I'm walking like this. I'm basically walking like this. I got a video on my phone. I kid you not, it looks like I'm on drugs because I'm like this. Anyway, sunrise comes up. It's the most beautiful experience. Was there for about 5-10 minutes at the top, took some pictures and ran the hell down the mountain. We made it down in the day. I kid you not, we made it down in the day.
So
yeah, it was intense.
Just as a disclaimer, right? You are generally quite a sort of active, quite a fit guy, aren't you? So it's not as though in case any like couch potatoes are watching this, and they go, hey, you know, I can go and climb Kilimanjaro in a couple of weeks. It's not.
I'm fairly fit, and I'm fairly, you know, but they do say, though, here's the thing, they do say that anyone can climb Kilimanjaro, but not everyone can climb it. As in, there was a group of these sort of 50, 60-year-old Asian climbers who looked experienced, but were, you know, midlife. And then there was a group of these two young, real fit guys. I mean, real like CrossFitters. And the thing is, they didn't make it. And the older group did, because they tried to rush up. They tried to do it in 3-4 days, realized that it was not possible, and they didn't make it. Whereas the other group, the older group, they did it in 8 days, I think, 9 days. And they just did it nice and slow, and they acclimatized, and they made a week out of it, and they made it. So it's like, it's not about how fit you are, really. It's really all up here. It is mental resilience. And that was kind of why I wanted to do it as well, because it was like, if I can go through that for 8 days, that is not even a taste of what people with mental health go through.
Sure.
You know, it's like, so that's why I kind of wanted to do it. But yeah, I think anyone could do it. If you did want to get off the couch and do something, I'd highly advise it. Just prepare better than I did.
Now, with this kind of outdoorsy side that you've got, this active side, would I be right in guessing that you're kind of bringing this back into the acting side of things? Your dream role would be something sort of action oriented?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Oh, 100%. Going back to the stunts from when I was younger, my dream role is like something action.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up watching Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
And, you know, like all of these kind of Asian films, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and Jet Li and Bruce Lee, and I was like, I love this stuff. I absolutely love this stuff. Like, I want to do this kind of, I want to do this thing. My forte, though, is comedy.
Right.
Which is a bit completely the opposite. But maybe I could do a comedy action.
Well, a lot of Jackie Chan's films were kind of comic action films. So
actually, totally true, which could be a possibility.
You could be the British Jackie Chan. That
would be great. that would be awesome. I'd love that.
The British on the streets of London. I don't know how that would work out, but you know, the right script.
No, but that's always something that's interested me. Like, I did stunts a couple of times. I have done some fighting on film and fighting in stage, and I always try to get, whenever there's a theatre thing, I always try to be the fight choreographer or get involved in the fights. And, I love it. It's one of my hobbies.
Have you ever thought about being a Bollywood action hero?
A Bollywood action hero? You know what? I don't speak Hindi. Is it Hindi, right? Yeah. I don't speak Hindi.
It's okay. So a lot of the heroines don't either. You're all right.
Yeah, it's so true, actually, isn't it? Because there's a few that don't speak English.
Well, no, I mean, truly speaking, though, I mean, Amy Jackson did quite a few films out in India.
Yeah, and did she have to learn a language? Was it Tamil films, or was it?
I think she did Tamil. She did a couple of Hindi films as well. So yeah, she did quite a few different.
So would she have had to learn it?
I don't know.
Or did they just dub her?
I'm guessing that somebody's probably done the dubbing, but obviously you've still got to get the lip movements right.
Well, listen, get me in touch with some Bollywood directors, and I'll definitely be there.
I'll see what I can do with my contacts. Try and to get you sorted. Right. Yeah. To close now, because we are running out of time. What have you got coming up that you can tell us about? Let's put it that way.
Yeah, so actually not much that I can tell you about, but so I just come back from Newcastle. We were filming something exciting. I'm a guest in I think they're on their 9th or 10th series.
Wow.
They won a few BAFTAs, so it's a TV show. It's good, it's exciting. And then after that,
Is that comedy as well?
Is that comedy? No, it's not comedy.
Okay.
No, it's I guess a drama.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I go to film. I got a very small part, but very good part in another TV show, which is awesomely exciting. I can't wait for that one. And then I come back and I film a film called Deadlift, which I can tell you about, which is a mockumentary style film about, I guess it plays on the idea of steroids in a fitness space.
Sure.
And it kind of mocks about the idea of steroid users. So yeah, mockumentary style film, that one, which could be good. We're supposed to be filming end of May. That might have been pushed back a couple of weeks.
Right. So plenty to look forward to.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait.
Well, congratulations on Hullraisers, and we look forward to seeing you in everything else that you can do, all the things that you can't tell us about, and the things that you have. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
And to find out more about Reel In, head to the website reelin.co.uk, and you can follow Reel In on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.